Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Fowl, in cinemas now, as you said, Christmas Day on BBC One, then on Netflix from early January. Let's just remind ourselves of the flavour of the film. Here's a clip.
We're getting reports of a crime wave across the region.
I'm live outside the West Wallaby Street house of the evil inventor, Mr. Wallace.
Evil? I'm innocent. Who could possibly be behind all this?
And as you'll know, because you can't have not seen the trailer, what happens when you hear that music, which is incidentally also the music that they use at the beginning of Rollerball, is the unmistakable spectre of Feathers McGraw then actually playing the organ. So the setup for this is Wallace invents Norbert, the smart gnome, nominally to help Gromit with his gardening. At the beginning, we see Gromit out in the garden. There's all the usual Wallace and Gromit stuff, but then Wallace is out in the garden, and Wallace says to Gromit, "Look, I see how hard you're working in the garden. Well, I've solved that problem. I have created this new smart gnome who will solve all your problems by doing all the stuff for you, neat and tidy, tidy and neat." And Gromit's reaction, although Gromit doesn't speak, is very much like Mrs. Doyle's reaction in that episode of Father Ted when they buy her a tea maker, a tea's maid, so she doesn't have to make the tea anymore, which of course is the reason for her existence. She loves making the tea in the same way that Gromit just likes doing the garden. He doesn't want the garden to be done. He just likes doing it. Anyway, Norbert is so fast and so neat and tidy, tidy and neat that he makes the news. Wallace hires him out for gnome improvements. I'll say that again. He hires him out for gnome improvements because it's just fantastic. And so all that sort of nice, tidy stuff, great, brilliant. However, Feathers McGraw, who I think the last, he's been in prison for a long time, basically. So, go back to Wrong Trousers and everything, hacks the mainframe and manages to turn Norbert evil. And the way he does this, which is brilliant, I'm not going to just repeat the plot because you'll enjoy this, but he goes into the settings, and the settings from Norbert, nice, he's got a setting which is evil. Which is like, why would he have a setting which is evil? Also makes duplicate Norberts who then are, this crime wave, and then Feathers McGraw embarks upon Vengeance Most Fowl. So we spoke when we were doing the live show with Nick Park and Merlin Crossing about what you do in the absence of Peter Sallis, and the fact that actually I think when you hear that voice, I think it's great. I mean, I think it really sounds like Wallace, doesn't it?
It's perfect. Yeah, I mean, it's close enough so you think, I'm sure Peter Sallis died, so you check Wikipedia, and he has actually died, but the voice actor is just tip-top, as we mentioned in the show. Yeah. And had apparently was first did it because he'd been working on the movies before, but they just asked, they were doing some looping of something, and they just said, "Oh, can you do an impression just because so that we can do the sync?" And it turned out that he could do it really, really well. Also, so Peter Kay, who has obviously been in the Wallace and Gromit family before, was in Curse the Were-Rabbit, returns as PC Macintosh, who has now been promoted to Chief Inspector, but is looking forward to stepping down. Inside Number 9 star Reece Shearsmith is in there as well. And as always, with Wallace and Gromit, the sight gags come thick and fast. I was saying there's a thing about the keep out, no, you keep out sign. Here is the thing. Some while ago, I did a Secrets of Cinema episode on heist movies. This is some years back now. And we were doing Mission Impossible and Rififi. And of course, we did a whole section on Wrong Trousers because the way in which that was put together, the way in which that film was constructed was so brilliant that it stood up with all these other kind of classic movies. Here, there is a heist sequence which involves a submarine mission into a zoo and a spectacular chase sequence over a precipitous bridge that's got kind of
a touch of Mission Impossible, the most recent Mission Impossible, and a touch of the Italian Job about it. And the thing that when you watch Aardman Productions, they're cinematic. I mean, they are. I mean, I know an awful lot of people are going to watch this at home on telly, and believe me, you'll all love it. But if you ever get a chance to see it on the big screen, I mean, they're wonderful looking films. I mean, they really, really extraordinarily well made. Impossible to resist, perfect for Christmas. Honestly, you will be finding new gags in it all the way through Easter and then into summer and then into autumn. And then when you watch it again this time next year, you'll see a whole bunch of other sight gags and you'll notice a whole bunch of other little nods and that you didn't notice the first 5 times that you watched it. There is nobody else making stuff as intricately woven as this. I mean, I think they're magnificent. I remember the first time you ever said, "I have a friend who has 2 Oscars. Who is it?" And I was thinking, I don't know, and it was because it was Nick Park, and you'd met Nick Park, and he had his 2 Oscars. This is it. I thought it was great. Did you like it?
Yeah, well, I think anyone who listened to the show from the Prince Edward Theatre knows what we think about it. It's the only thing I would add to what you said is that we've got in take 2, we've got a question about films for 2-year-olds. Okay. And
yes.
So as a kind of a Christmassy thing, it's worth saying that the Norberts that are invented are scary.
Yes.
I think.
Oh, yes, they are. They're scary gnomes.
They're genuinely kind of weird in that League of Gentlemen kind of way, which you would exactly is what's expected. But it's slightly disturbing. So, and everyone will know their kids better than anybody else, but it's just worth saying that before you all sit down, it might be worth just thinking that these are a bit freaky and a bit scary in the way that first Toy Story film was a PG, as we've mentioned a number of times before, because that bit with the torturing the toys that are under the bed from the nasty boy next door is kind of unsettling. So with that proviso, I would think it's wonderful.
Bear in mind that, an awful lot of kids' films do have scary elements in it. I mean, I'm looking at this on the BBFC site. It's you for very mild threat, scary scenes, violence, and rude humor. That's rude humor in the Omi Begonias sense, which incidentally also made it into the Times. Everything we say on this show makes it into the Times. But yeah, it is the scary gnome thing, but then garden gnomes are scary.
What was particularly fun was watching the trailer, a bit of which we've just heard, but showing it to the audience at the Prince Edward Theatre, 1,600 people who hadn't seen it before.
They went nuts.
And the kind of the belly laugh and the cheer when the penguin turns up, when Feathers McGraw turns up, Feathers McGraw playing the organ, it's just, you realize that these are people who have grown up with all of these characters and they are going to love watching the new one. Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Fowl, cinema, yes. Christmas Day, BBC One, and then Netflix.